Hello, you wonderful, beautiful people. It's Kev here. I'm recording this on Saturday. Things are falling off the table already. As you will have seen, I have coronavirus as it stands. I think I'm getting towards the end of it, which is fun. But I'm still not in any state to sit down and do a full episode. So what I'm going to do is not do that. Yes. I'm going to instead, today you're going to have a bit of a bumper episode of two old episodes. You remember when we spoke to Eithne Brown? Yes, a proper Broadway star she is indeed. And she's been in Blood Brothers, she's been in all this Carry On, loads of stuff, dead good stuff. But she's also had her fair share of the paranormal. So me and Becca had a nice chat with her a few months back, good few months back, maybe last year in fact. So you're going to hear that, two episodes back to back. And why not? Nice little break. And then I will be back with you, hopefully singing and dancing again. Well, no one wants to hear me sing nor dance, but you know what I mean. The following week. I managed to struggle out a rambling Patreon today, which is a good thing, but there's no way I could do a standard episode and do it any justice. So, until next time, this is the wonderful Eithne Brown. Take care of yourselves and have a fantastic 2022. Now, our special, very special guest is Liverpool native and West End star, Eithne Brown. Now, Ethna is a Liverpool native, as I say. She had a very successful run in the West End, playing one of the lead roles in Blood Brothers, which is a Willie Russell play. And she went then on to soap stardom. She was in Brookside, Brookside, Emmerdale, and she's about to go into Coronation Street. She's a bit of a soap legend. She's done all bar EastEnders, but I'm sure it'll come. Anyway, and how we met Ethna was, when me and Becca were delivering those food parcels a while back. Well, the guy who runs that charity, he held like a thank you meal for everyone who'd done it. And Ethna was there. We started talking about ghosts, and she then let slip, well, do you know that the flat I lived in Liverpool city centre, on an old street named Hope Street, was very haunted, poltergeist a lot. We were like, no, but do tell us more. And she started to tell us, and we were like, well, hold on, stop telling us. Can you come to the flat and tell us for an episode? And she was like, yeah, I can do that. So that's what we've done. So this episode and Wednesday's episode will be us, me and Becca, and Eithne Brown talking about her haunted flat. Now, this episode will be focused mainly on the flat, and Wednesdays we don't need to talk about ghosts. Still will be rather spooky, but it's a conversation with Ethna as well. And both episodes were brilliant. Really want to thank Ethna for taking the time out of her very, very busy schedule to pop along to our little flat, which she doesn't think's haunted, by the way. How dare she? And tell us all about her ghosties, which was wonderful. Beautiful lady, inside and out. Very nice to meet her. Also, I will say that for our lucky Patreons, Ethna, being a Liverpool celebrity, she has actually got to sit down and have readings with two of Liverpool's famous psychics / mediums. One, none other than the infamous Derek Acora. Derek, now deceased, of course. He was big on Most Haunted. If you've ever watched Most Haunted, he was the psychic medium from the first the first 10 series or seasons. And Ethna tells us all about the reading that she had off Derek Acora, and also the reading she had off Billy Roberts, another very famous Liverpool medium who's been on a few American shows, I believe. Well, anyway, she tells us all about that in the Patreon. So if you're a Patreon subscriber, you will be loving listening to that because it's quite interesting. We do get into good chats about it. In the meantime, if you're not, but you would like to be, then you need to go along to www.patreon.com/we need to talk about ghosts, or click the link in the description of the podcast and you can go sign up and join in all of the party over there. Anyway, without further ado, I give you the inimitable Miss Eithne Brown. So I thought we'd start officially. Hello everyone, welcome again to We Need to Talk About Ghosts. As mentioned on last week's show, we have a very, very special guest. We have the wonderful Eithne Brown with us. And I didn't reveal her name last time because I wanted to be a bit of a surprise. But she's done, we'll speak to Ethna now and we'll go over everything she's actually accomplished, which is loads. And she's done the trifecta now of British soaps, haven't you? So you've done Brookside, Coronation Street, Emmerdale. I think it's only EastEnders that you need to get yourself on, isn't it now?
Yeah. I always wanted, when I was doing Brookside, I was wanted, like Sheila Grant, Chrissy Rogers, who I played on Brookside, and say another character, to just be in the back of shot in that pub on EastEnders. I think, you know, the way we used to have London away days. We used to have those away days, didn't you? You know, and I just think, wouldn't it be great if the three of us were just in the back of shot at the Queen Vic with a load of shopping bags.
So you're going on back onto Corrie, aren't you? Onto Coronation Street.
This is the first. This is the first time I've been on it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No. This is the first. This is the first time I've been on it. And it's funny that we're here to talk about ghosts, because I did go for an audition for Coronation Street, and it was to be Les Dennis's wife.
Oh, really?
But I knew before I got there, even though it was a good audition, that I wasn't going to get it.
Just a sign or a knowing, or
because I bumped into Derek Acora.
No.
I bumped into Derek Acora on the just before I went in. He was filming there. I said, "All right, Ethna, what are you doing?" "Oh, I'm going for an audition in Coronation Street."
Yeah.
Derek, yeah. And he just looked at me and his eyes went up to heaven for a moment. Came and I went, "Right, okay." I thought, well, I'm not getting that then. No. No, it was like one of those where he just had a little listen to his voices.
Yeah, to Sam.
And it was Sam. Well, Sam was like that. Nah, she's not. No, no, that was funny. But I'm just going into it. It's one episode. Fingers crossed. 4 more, because I had a really lovely time when I was there. And I'm the mother of the prostitute.
Things are looking up.
Who is a gorgeous girl. I never actually had a scene with her, but our paths crossed as I was leaving, and she was coming in, and she was so lovely. "Oh, I hope they bring you back." And really, no, she was, and she texted me. She texted me that night. You know.
Did she really? Who was the? Because I've lost track of it now. Like we never watched it. I used to watch it with my dad's all the time because my sister is a soap addict.
Yeah.
But since we lived together, I've stopped watching them.
Yeah. Vicky and Dan.
Right.
Dan is Mr. Barlow's son, I think, and his wife died and left him with a young baby, and he pays my daughter to dress up in his wife's clothes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Ken Barlow's son.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
interesting. And obviously, you initially because we met Ethna just for the interest of some backstory. What we used to do when me and Becca worked when we volunteered for Kind, delivering food parcels and stuff. Yeah. The guys know about that because we'd sometimes record episodes in the car and normally have a fight.
Yeah, as we were delivering.
But the guy who runs it, Steve, and he ran a charity thank you, didn't he, sort of event. And Ethna came and gave a few performances from the likes of Shirley Valentine, is it?
Yeah.
And he also wrote an amazing poem as well. And I was like saying to Becca, well, when you got up, I said, I know her from Brookside. Yeah. And as you do. And then we got talking towards the end of the night because Stephen bought a load of copies of the book as well.
He did, yeah. He has a signing, didn't he?
And he had a signing, which was dead awkward, some of it. But anyway, but then we got talking to Ethna at the end of the night, and Ethna then said she's got some history with the old supernatural. But before we go into that, we found out on that night that you've also got a lot of you found your what do you call it? You found your foot in the door with Broadway sort of stuff, didn't it? It was
Blood Brothers. It was Blood Brothers. It was the very first time Blood Brothers sort of hit a major stage. It had been done as a youth theatre play first, and then so this was the very first time it was up and running from the Playhouse. Barbara Dixon was the lead. Andrew Schofield, who lots of people know from Liverpool. The wonderful Andrew Schofield. I've worked with loads since, thank goodness. Another really good friend of mine was also in that, Davey Edge. He's a wonderful musician, and also appeared with him on stage a few times. So there were lots of wonderful people in that, and that was the very first time I'd actually been on stage professionally anywhere.
Oh wow! Who did you play?
I was in the chorus, and then one night when Barbara wasn't well enough to go on stage, I had to go on in her place. But then she wasn't well at all, and so I did over 50 shows.
Amazing.
In the West End.
In the West End.
In the West End.
Amazing.
That was the first job. That was the first job.
It's
so
not bad for a first proper
Oh, no.
acting role, is it?
But
What was,
sorry.
what was her role? The role
She was Mrs. Johnson.
Great.
She was
So
the mother
that's-
of the twins.
Talk about the deep end then, Mrs.
Oh, yeah.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Well, she was the lead, yeah.
Wow.
That's the
Yeah.
lead role as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
it is, yeah.
It is, really.
I mean, you know what I said to Becca though? Interestingly, I've seen Blood Brothers kind of piecemeal. So I went to one showing of it in the Empire, and Dean Sullivan, Jimmy Corkle. Is it Dean Sullivan? Well, whoever played Jimmy Corkle in Brookside, he was the narrator at the one in the Empire, and I just couldn't get my head around it because I just knew...
You were quite young, weren't you?
Yeah, I was
And
about...
not a
I mean, I'm
theatre.
41 now. I was about maybe
Child.
19, 20,
Yeah,
21. So we're
too
talking-
cool for theatre at that point
yeah, we're
anyway,
talking
really.
about 20,
Yeah.
20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember I couldn't get my head around that it was Jimmy Corkle doing the voice.
Oh, yeah.
And I was in pleats. So, because he was walking around the set, you know, like on an upper tier,
Yeah.
and looking down whilst they were paused. And
Yeah.
he was like, two brothers from Tiffin. And I was like, it's Jimmy Corkle. And I couldn't stop laughing. And I was like, I can't take it serious.
Yeah.
And also, I just wanted to go out on the ale as you do. So I
Yeah.
think we left halfway through to go on the piss. And then,
Shocking.
and then I caught the second half
Yeah.
because I arrived late for another show and we decided to go for a drink prior and didn't realise we missed half of the performance.
Yeah.
So I have seen it, but
Right.
with two completely different casts.
Yeah.
So who are the Mrs. Johnsons? Can you remember?
No.
of course not.
No.
No. What did she have to do with anything?
Jimmy Corkle.
She was only, yeah, but I know, but she was only the... Well, another strange, again, Blood Brothers connection, because once it was played by Kiki D.
Really?
Yeah,
As in Don't Go Breaking My Heart, Kiki?
Don't Go Breaking My Heart, Kiki D. Now, I was asked by a Liverpool medium that a lot of people might follow, called Billy Roberts.
I know Billy Roberts.
Yeah.
Got a book of his over there.
Yeah. Well, Billy Roberts asked me to speak, at his wedding. And then I was invited along to the do afterwards at I think it was the Hillbark Hotel, and it was all terribly posh and gorgeous and stuff. And very nice, happy, friendly day. And Kiki D and her guitarist were the after-show entertainment, as it were.
Really?
So we were all there, and she was getting everybody to sing, and it was How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You. That was it. So it's like, I remember the song. And she just walked towards me, and I wasn't bellowing or doing Listen to Me or anything like that. She
Yeah.
just walked towards me, pointed at me, picked my hand and said, come up, come sing with me, come sing with me. And she said, Billy had told me that another Mrs. Johnson was one of the guests. And I was doing a reading at the wedding. She said, I just heard your voice. It was clean, clear. I just heard Mrs. Johnson. And so I ended up getting up and singing with Kiki. Yeah.
Amazing.
I can do harmonies and stuff like that without,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just sang with Kiki D. But that was another odd Mrs.
That's
Mrs. Johnson
brilliant,
twist.
Yeah.
I love
Mrs.
the
J's together.
blaseness of that. So I just sang with Kiki D.
Yeah,
you know,
just-
as
But
you
you see, but isn't that random?
Yeah.
Absolutely random.
Because I'll be perfectly honest. If you had to say, what would even be the odds of two people being in the same city who played Mrs. Johnson
Yeah,
on stage in Blood Brothers?
Yeah.
You'd say minuscule, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Let alone being at the same wedding.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
And now we've got to brag because Eithne Brown's read our books.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, I have.
So that's
Yeah.
one for
I know. Yeah.
saved it. I'll be
Yeah.
telling everyone that.
Yeah. And we'll be passing it on to her friends. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
I like that.
So let's get into the crux of things. When we did start chatting during that charity night, you informed us, which has led to this very meeting, that you had an apartment on Hope Street, one of Liverpool's oldest streets, and you experienced some spooky shenanigans.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, truly. Oh,
So
sorry,
the
should I have
floor
said God?
is yours. Yeah.
Well, no, I was living... I've always sort of lived around Sefton Park, Lark Lane area since my son and I sort of moved away from the family home. And when I knew I was going to have to leave the flat I lived in, I've been there for about 13 odd years, really, really well settled, loved it.
Yeah.
Hated having to leave it, but I had to leave.
Where was that one?
That was on Sefton Drive,
Right.
off Hullet Road. Really happy. Again, I'm like you too. I like space in front of me. I like air and light and what have you. So I've always lived on top floor flats and always felt safe up there and happy seeing chimneys and tiles and blue skies. So this is the first time since I used to live on Bedford Street that I'd lived on the ground floor. Went to look at the flat, and to be honest, I thought, oh, this is it, a flat on Hope Street. I was in my 50s. I thought, this will do me.
Yeah.
I can walk to... I was doing a lot of work at the Royal Court in Liverpool at the time. I can walk to work. I can just walk along to the quarter and sit outside, and this is where I belong. I felt really,
Because it's gorgeous up there.
It's beautiful.
It is lovely. Well, I used to live on Bedford Street, you know, when I was first away from home, and I did love that area of the Georgian Quarter. Felt like home to me. So I've been doing quite a lot of work at the Royal Court, so there were a few pennies in the bank, and I thought, right, and I went into the flat and I had it all painted and gave a couple of lads a few jobs. Can you do this? Can you do that? Little, you know, shelves. And I won't say fitted wardrobe, that sounds posh, but, you know, it was a walk-in cupboard that, you know, I've got. But I made it feel like home, like, to me, you know. And it was quite odd. It was, the front room was the bedroom, the back room, the big room, was the living room, big old fireplace in there, and then you walk through and there was sort of like an outrigger on the ground floor for your bathroom.
Right.
Long little walk through kitchen, just to give you an idea of the shape of the place. And I'd not been there that long. I was all the fun of moving in, and also I was working during the day and on stage of a night, rehearsing, working, you know, so it was like doing shift work, and I was hardly there to begin with. And then when I spent more time there, I began to notice various things. I began to feel very uncomfortable. The things that I could put my finger on that happened that weren't usual, things fell off the wall, and a big mirror fell off the wall and split my head open.
And split your head open?
Oh yeah, the front of my head.
Onto you?
It's gone, yeah. It just came off the wall and hit me there. I wasn't moving it. I wasn't... I wasn't shoving anything or banging about or anything like that. Other things that would happen, I opened a cupboard door and a favourite bowl shot out and smashed itself on the floor. It was all confined to one area, which was the back room, the back of the flat. Front room, peaceful blue gorgeousness, looked out onto the cathedral. Yeah. And I ended up, without realising it, spending most of my time in the bedroom.
Right, yeah.
Oh, in the bedroom? In
the flat, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
The front, the front of it, yeah. So the back room, it was very dark. It was quite dark. It was a gorgeous little garden that I had steps onto, you know, a little yard and sort of thing. It had everything going for it. And more and more and more, I began to feel I'm not wanted here.
Well, what would you say was the sort of... Was there a time when you think that you recall as being the first moment, or was it more like an overarching sort of...
It was more of an overarching coming in and going into the back of the flat. It all seemed to be spaced in the back of the flat. I had a friend who came to rehearse with me one day, youngish man, and he walked in through the door to the back living room, dark, and he went, oh, what was that? Didn't like that. Oh. Really? And he just said, it was like walking through ice.
Really?
And there was an area where that's what happened. It was, you sort of felt it's there, it comes from there. If I ever had to stay in that room, the living room, when I had a friend staying in, I'd give them my bedroom.
Right.
If I ever stayed there, slept on the couch sort of thing, I'd have the most terrible nightmares about dropping babies, about things dying, about really.
Isn't that's quite really a specific? That's quite a specific nightmare, though, isn't it?
It's very. I remember it was from a school roof, and I was dropping this baby, and it was all horrible. The feeling I eventually got to feel was this feeling around me was female.
Right.
It was spiteful. I would have swear words in my head.
It made you angry, or made you...
No, I would just like, what? Oh, hang on.
Oh,
no.
right. Okay.
Yeah, it was like something would sort of, your thoughts would be.
Yeah.
Well, oh,
That's not me.
That's not me. Once I came in, I'd had a lovely walk around the pier head. I'd walked back up. Sunday evening, really cool, lovely. Walked in, and something pushed me.
Physically pushed you?
Physically pushed me. Other things...
In the back or the front?
Yeah, in the back. As I'm walking in, as I'm walking in, I got pushed out. Through my front door, I got pushed.
Wow.
Like as if he just wanted you back out again?
Wanted you in?
No, pushed me in.
Oh, right.
Exactly. Pushed me in. The in and out thing, when it became... I had to move out twice because of the damp problem that they had to keep coming back and sorting out.
Right.
And there was once I moved into a flat, back up again in the sort of Sefton Park area. I was told I would have to move out for a month.
Yeah, from the Hope Street flat.
From Hope Street, I would have to move out from Hope Street. So I moved into this other flat. I was there for a month. It was on the top floor. It was white, clean, calm, quiet. Yeah. I said goodbye to my dad while I was living there. I'm really glad. No, it was a peaceful, happy,
right time.
So it was nice, and I could walk around the park and think about him and stuff. And then I had to move back to Hope Street, and about 4 days after, I remember feeling, oh, God, no.
Really?
And it just came back down again, like a really lowering feeling.
And there was nothing, I mean, without trying to be overly personal, there was nothing that would add to that, i.e., like, this is quite personal, but I mean, like, for example, that, what you just described there, we say there was this then feeling of, to come back onto you. I get that sometimes with, for example, financial worries. Like, for argument's sake, we're dealing with an electricity company now, and they're a nightmare. And I thought it was all put to bed, and then and was feeling relatively good about the situation. Then the other day, we realised that it's not, and we still need to sort out. And I felt that sort of blanket of misery come back on me. Was there nothing like that, a financial situation, a relationship, or something that could have added to it? So I'm trying to basically say,
I know.
Is it just the building, basically?
It is. It was the building, because I would say to people, as I'd say to you, to my friends, when I'd be talking about it, have you ever heard me talk like this before? About anywhere? About anything? No. Why would I suddenly start making... I don't need it. I'm not like an attention seeker. I get loads. I walk out onto stage and it's like, you're looking at me. That's fantastic. And you paid to look at me. So I'm not somebody who goes about going, oh, well, I had... That happened to... It wasn't that at all. And in fact, the opposite. I really would play things down. One of the worst things that happened was... I had a neighbour living upstairs who could be quite problematic, although I tried to keep a good relationship. And he'd had somebody come and stay, and then there was lots of screaming and shouting from them upstairs, and I opened the hall doorway, and bags coming down the stairs. Obviously a bit of a dispute going on. And I said to this person, could you just please keep it down? It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And it's like I was lifted up. She got hold of me and threw me down the stairs.
The guy did?
No, the woman.
The woman did, really?
Absolutely true. And the woman did. And I'm thinking...
Oh, people just go, God.
I know, but the odd thing was, I'm on stage. I'd been on stage that night, and I was on stage the next night telling ghost stories in the beautiful concert room in St George's Hall. Charles Dickens stories. So it was all of that, and all I could think of bouncing down the steps was, oh, who will they get to replace me? I really thought, you sort of calm, don't you, when something happens?
Yeah, I agree.
So I was just thinking, who will oh, poor Jen, who will they get to replace me? And it was when a very good friend of mine pointed out, because another time, it all seemed to start getting worse and worse and worse. I went to go in one afternoon, about a week earlier than this, and I couldn't get in. The key just wouldn't work, and there was no reason why I couldn't work. The front door just would not work into the whole building, and then somebody had to come out and give me try the key, give me another key. It was like I have no idea why it's suddenly gone like this. There'd be a problem with the lock when there hasn't been before, and as a friend pointed out, it doesn't want you in the building. It's now thrown you out. When will you? So, we talked about Billy Roberts.
Yeah.
He came to visit.
Wow.
He came to visit as a friend.
Just to interject, for those who don't know, because there's a lot of listeners in the States, Billy Roberts is a very, very well-known Liverpool medium. A lot of celebrity clients. He's an exceptionally... and he's not very razzle-tazz with it. He's a bit of showbiz, but he's not like, your Zach Bagans sort of people, or even like he's less flamboyant than Derek Acora.
Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah.
So he's not really like showbizy in himself. Sorry.
Well, no, this is to come back because I viewed him and his wife as friends.
Yeah.
So they came around to visit me, and he saw a woman, and he went to me. It's not the woman you're thinking about. And I hadn't said anything because I always felt this presence for him. Yeah. He said she's in her own time. She's very happy to be there. He could just feel her, it's like there were different veils of time.
So he could feel like
he could see
a
her.
nice person.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, she was, very, very well dressed, and she's in her own time, and she's very happy to be there. And then also another friend who'd come, a male friend, very, worked for the council. We're not talking anything, show busy at all. And he said, I just thought I saw something in the kitchen, and I was like, what was that? He said, Well, I turned around, there was something on the floor behind me. I thought it was a dog, and then when I turned back, it had gone. And I thought, what was it like? I said, it was something small and spiteful.
Small and spiteful.
And I went, that's exactly how it felt. Something small and spiteful. The most pathetic, nasty little things used to happen to you. You know, really things would get, you'd rip something, or, you know, it's all of that.
But this is an interesting one because, like, there was a story once, I mean, funny enough, tying in with, like, theatre and things like that. I want a very, very brief synopsis because I think the listeners know this and you know this story, but I once was asked to go and read for a part in some sort of play somewhere. And it was a part of an army major, and I was like 17 or 16. But at 16 I had a bowl head and John Lennon glasses and was thin as a rake, and I just had a deep voice at the time. So when I turned up for this Sergeant Major role in the Egg Cafe, it was, on the Egg, Cafe Tobacco. At the top
I know.
of Bowl Street there. And I go in and we sit down, and it was like a different sort of cafe then. It's a bit bohemian now and quite trendy. It was like, they get free cups of tea out of the homeless and stuff like that then. And we were all sat around in this group. Long story short, the guy who's wrote the play, Mark, he's introducing everyone around the circle, and he says, and Steve does the music, and he gestures to the left of me, and there's a fella to the left of me, so I like nod. We carry on, then because I'm obviously into it, when we've done the play stuff, I say, does anyone believe in ghosts? We start talking about ghosts, getting all spooky, and then we leave, and they're all from Kirby, so they all go one way towards Central, and I was the only one from Huyton, so I said, no, I'm going to Lime Street. And this Steve fella came out, he hadn't said a word all night, he came out, he went, you from Huyton? He said, I'm from Bluebell. He said, do you want a lift? I went, yeah, go on then. So we get in his car, and he says, so do you believe in ghosts and all that? I said, yeah, I love it. And he says, right, and he's umming and ahhing whether he should tell me this thing. And he says, right, well, he says, see, I went to Glastonbury with the kids, he said, and I was filming the kids on my camera. He said, and one of the kids noticed there was people moving around the Tor. They could see it, which is like a hill in Glastonbury. And they could see like these little white figures. He said, so I started filming them and zoomed in, and then just went back to the kids. He said, and when I played the tape back, when I got home, he said, the moment I zoom in, the tape on the screen flips upside down, is black and white, and it's a video of us holding the camera. He said, and I was like, that's amazing. He says, yeah. So then he says, since then, he said, all these things have started happening. He said, we've had an envelope arriving through the front door just with fingernails in it. He said, we've had a message saying...
It's grim.
Yeah, we've had a message saying, you don't know what you've seen, you've interrupted something you shouldn't. He said, my daughter's seen a white figure in her room, I've had a bolt of lightning come through the window, all this stuff. And he's getting more and more het up as he's talking, to the point where I'm starting to freak out. And he's then and all this, up to this point, I'm like, this is all paranormal, this is dead weird. But then he starts saying things like, and there's a point to this story, so he starts saying things like, and you know, then you'd be driving along, and the registration in front of you would be the initials of your arch nemesis. You know, and it'd be doing it just to wind you up. And I'm starting to think, that's not paranormal, mate, that's paranoia. And then he started to go down the paranoia route. Yeah. To the point where when I said, on Huyton Lane, before we actually got to my house, I said, I'll get out here. And he pulled over the car, stopped the engine, and turned to me and was like, you're not going to tell anyone, are you? Because I wouldn't like it to pass on to them. And I was like, no, I promise.
Does that mean he's passed it on to you?
Allegedly. So I then got out of the car and I ran home saying the Hail Mary. I was that terrified.
I used prayers.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. But my point of it being, the point of that whole story was...
You know you're not the special guest.
I know, yeah. I realised halfway through you look at me and say, come on. My point of it was...
Not used to sharing this microphone, is
No, I like this. Go on.
When you were just about to say then, the most petty things would start to happen.
Oh, yes.
Like you'd rip jeans or you'd rip clothes or whatever. Do you think that was down to this, or could it have been one of those situations where anything that went wrong, you would then tag on this?
No, because I was in a place where I was happy.
Yeah.
Financially, everything was okay. My son and I, marvellous. You know, he'd come and stay at the flat and, you know, enjoy the ambience there and be able to visit his mates who live in the area. So I wasn't looking for anything.
Right.
And I was working really hard as well. I was tired. You know, I could sometimes be tired and it'd be like, oh, no. I used to have singing bells. And I used to like... Tibetan singing bowls. So I used to like to bing my singing bowl. I was living on my own. Bing my singing bowl. This is before I moved there, and I'd just like go through the people I love and think about and just wish them well, and that'd be a nice peaceful thing at the end of the night, and then right up top. Just that little thing. I'm not religious. Although I was brought up Catholic. One of 7 children.
Yeah,
and so I didn't follow a religion. I like places. I'm drawn to places that have
spiritual sort of places.
Yeah, spiritual. That's how I'd put it. So I would have all of this. That whole thing disappeared in Hope Street. Really? I just felt like if I'd picked the bowl up, it like put me down. I don't want this.
I mean, when you said about your friend seeing something and said, "Oh, it's spiky and spiteful,"
small.
It's interesting to look at something and say that's spiteful. That must be a feeling because you can't see spiteful.
You can't see spite, can you?
Like
no, that's a good point.
It's not a visual, is it?
No,
it's
not at all.
Spiteful. So, and given that's exactly what you'd concluded
yourself
as well.
So that's how it felt. I've never lived in a place before. I was only there for 18 months. I had to leave. Yeah. And I'd put a fair amount of money into doing it up and my walk-in cupboard. To this day, I miss it. So it was never. I've not been a casual, flitty person. Wherever I've lived for like 13 years or 7 years or whatever. Put down roots. Yeah. So that's and it was like when the way I left, how I left, because after the throwing down the stairs business, and then the house began to get more and more uncomfortable to live in, and the flat was like. The people I'd gone to stay with when all the damp work was being done, I had to move out twice. I stayed in the Adelphi for a week, another fortnight. Yeah, I had to stay in the Adelphi. And it was things, who else has found slugs in their bathroom? And it was when I found a worm, and I just thought,
my God.
Oh no, this is just... And it was freezing. It was one of the coldest places I've ever lived.
Really?
You would be like, if you had to go through, because you'd have to walk from the bedroom at the front right the way to the bathroom right at the back of this outlet, and you'd be like, oh dear, no. And also that I would have to pass through that room.
Yeah, I was just thinking that as you said that.
It was a beautiful room, it had a beautiful painted ceiling.
Yeah.
All the lovely features were still there, a massive big fireplace. It was plants and stuff, and it was, candles and what you wanted.
Amazing. I mean,
it was
I love those buildings.
Yeah, I did. I've always been happier, and I've never lived anywhere modern. Yeah. So it's not even as though it's like, it's an old building. I felt a bit. I've always loved the ancient, and it would be. As I came into the flat, if I had to go through into that room, I'd do that. I'd turn my head away and switch the light on first. Right. Like a child.
Yeah.
Like a kid going up the stairs. I can't go there. I'm in my 50s. What's that?
Yeah, that's interesting. And you've never had anything like that previous, like in places you've lived?
Not in places I've lived, no, I hadn't at all.
Isn't that interesting? And the key thing that really jumps out is it's 2 things. One, you say it's a woman. And it's those dreams for me. They're quite specific, aren't they? They're not like you're not saying I had nightmares. You're saying I had specific nightmares about dropping a child.
Oh yeah.
Off a roof.
Yeah.
So it makes you think, and also just to ask, because you used to live on Rodney Street, didn't you? Well, on Pilgrim Street.
Yeah.
Oh.
And your flat was in the back, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the entrance should have been on Pilgrim Street, but they started building something there, so the entrance you had to go through the back. Through the flat on Rodney Street.
Yeah.
But your Pilgrim Street flat was, we equated it to, it would have been the servants' quarters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it had like a little maisonette, I'm just wondering, was that a similar, could that have been a servant's place originally? Or
Downstairs, that's where the kitchen was, and that was all still open, the basement. That's where all the damp came from.
Really?
That's where she was.
There was nothing in the basement?
Yeah, there was things stored down there,
Right. Oh, there was, I got a chill thinking about the basement.
Oh yeah, no, the guy, and you could also get into the garden from the basement as well. The people who lived on the top floor and the guy who lived on the floor above me, they would go down to the basement if they wanted to get into the garden area, the back, to do stuff, and things were stored there, But
can I just ask, where on Hope Street? You don't have to give us the number. I may ask for that off air, but because we know that area, I'm just wondering.
Yeah. For listeners who don't know, Hope Street is this really nice street in the Georgian Quarter, but it's actually bookended by both the cathedrals in Liverpool. So at one end you've got the Anglican, you literally walk down Hope Street, no other street, and you hit the Catholic Cathedral.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
If you have Parliament Street behind you, and the Anglican Cathedral on your left as you walk up Hope Street, the beginning of Hope Street.
Yeah.
I was in that first block there. Before you hit Husky.
On the right, opposite the arts.
Yeah. No. On the right, opposite the opposite the graveyard. No, which I think St James's Gardens.
Okay.
So my flat was at St James's Gardens. So Parley down that way.
Yeah.
Tocky Library there.
Yeah.
You see, look, I just I could walk over to Toxteth Library, change my books, and the people in the shops were mates. I had for the first time in ages, because when you live in big old houses, you don't often see neighbours. You don't see people, because everybody's moving at different times. Once when I was living in Sefton Drive, the doorbell went, and there was a guy and you standing in front of me with a parcel. I went, my God, what are you doing here? He went, I live next door. And I went, how long have you lived there? He went, 2 years. So this was, before I'd even gone into the flat, there was a lovely woman lived 2 doors along. She saw me looking over the railings. Do you want to come in? Come and have a cup of coffee, love. And then next door to me, there was an old chap, Brian, who used to give me his parking permits, Yeah. And then on the other side, were wonderful, wonderful people, lovely ladies, and come in for a cup of coffee. I had neighbours. I wanted to be there.
So
I really wanted to be there.
Because when you first spoke about moving in, it was all really positive. You were looking forward to it, you loved it, you were decorating it, you were excited about it. It was perfect for work, perfect little location, loved it. But then when you spoke about moving away for a month while the library looks at the damp, you said, and then I had to move back. And it's just really at that how that changed. I had to move back. Rather because you were so positive about going into it in the first place. And that's a real negative. That was, I had to go back.
I had to go back because that was the second time. And the thing being, when I knew I sort of had to leave after I'd been thrown out down the front steps, bounced down the steps of Hope Street sort of thing, that's when I thought, no, this house, the chaos and everything now, it's not worth it anymore. I'm never at rest. I'm never calm. I'm never... and I felt like I was carrying something with me.
Really?
When I left. That's not a nice feeling, is it?
That's not a nice feeling. I mean, I'm amazed by it, and I love that feeling on someone else. Yeah. Because it makes me very interesting.
If I was carrying something nice with me.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes I've got the feeling about my mum around me or something like that. I'm very open to thinking, oh, lovely, I was having quite a serious operation. I was in the women's, and just before I turned over, the night before the operation, I just felt my mum. Oh. And I don't know whether people believe me or not. That doesn't matter to me.
Oh, no,
that's how I felt. So that was lovely.
That's important in the slightest whether you believe.
So it's just like I know the feeling of warmth and all of that.
Oh, that's good. Good point. Yeah. So you've got something to compare it to. Basically.
Oh yeah. This was like.
So also, I'm just thinking as well. It may not, but I'm pretty sure. I don't know whether it's just anyway. The St James's Gardens.
That's where, for the listeners, that's where we've done
a Halloween special from. Yeah, we've done a recording in there. Respectful one, but recording there. But anyway, some of those apartments have tunnels underneath that go to the graveyard because they were sold on the premise that that was part of the deal. You can walk underneath to your family crypt. Yeah. And I'm just wondering if that's could be one of them.
Also, the Black Magic societies that were around there at the time.
What?
Oh yeah. Have a little look into that.
Yeah. Really?
Well, if you think about it. Well, no, when you think about it, the Victorians, they had a real interest, didn't they, in the supernatural? That's when your tables with your lovely, tablecloths and things starting to move and stuff like that, and seances and stuff like that. They sort of happened then. So I always had the feeling it was something left over from something else. I don't know.
So someone's called something in, sort of thing, maybe.
And I got landed with it. She didn't like me.
Yeah.
She didn't like me. Wow. And it was as simple as that. And I'd be like, leave off.
Yeah. Did you feel like it was personal? Did you feel like it was you? Like that she might be all right with someone else, but she just...
She didn't like women much.
Right, okay.
There's another beautiful actress I've worked with who's full of joy, joy, joy. She's... we did Brick Up the Tunnels together. And she came in, and she was somebody else, so she was just walking through. Oh, how's that happened? And all of a sudden, she's caught, and there's a rip, and it was like... And she gave me a beautiful angel that sat on my mantelpiece. That flew off.
Really?
It really, literally did fall off. I didn't push it. It wasn't balancing. It wasn't a tiny little wobbly bit of wood. Yeah. It fell off, and it broke.
Hello, all you wonderful and beautiful people. It is, of course, time for Wednesdays. We don't need to talk about ghosts. However, as was explained on Sunday's episode, it is in fact part 2 of the interview we carried out with Eithne Brown. Yes, it is. So we kind of do talk about ghosts in it, so it's a bit of a lie to say we don't need to talk about ghosts, when in essence, we are talking about ghosts. You get the gist. Anyway, this is part 2 of the Eithne Brown interview. Don't forget, we also done a Patreon special with Ethna where we discussed the fact that she'd had tarot readings and psychic readings from none other than Derek Acora and Billy Roberts. That's up on the Patreon page, and if you'd like to go and listen to that, you need to become a member of our Patreon. You need to go over to patreon.com/we need to talk about ghosts. There'll also be a link in the show notes. Anywho, in the meantime and in between time, this is part 2 of our interview with the wonderful, the delectable, the delightful Eithne Brown.
And she gave me a beautiful angel that sat on my mantelpiece. That flew off.
Really?
It really, literally did fall off. I didn't push it. It wasn't balancing. It wasn't a tiny little wobbly bit of wood. Yeah. It fell off and it broke.
What about, did you ever hear noises in there that you couldn't attribute to things? I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't an odd noise place. That's not what stays with me about it. It was how it actually felt.
Yeah.
The things that physically moved and were broken, and the whole sort of. Who wants to walk into their beautiful home and suddenly start feeling fear?
Well, you know what? This is the thing, and again, the guys on the show know about this, but you don't. So, and I'll be very brief with it. But I've spoken often that I think there's something potentially in this flat. We've had a few weird things.
There's not something.
Becca's a skeptic, so
but also there's nothing in this flat.
Well, anyway, so we were both stood in the kitchen once. We both stood in the kitchen. Ethna's just said Becca's right.
Yeah, she's just that's all judged it with her hands in it. Yep, she's right.
Well, we were both stood in the kitchen once, wasn't we? We were talking away, and it was an older tap than that. It was like a lever tap. And as we're talking, the tap, we turn around, we both see it. The tap just comes on.
That's
we did.
An exaggeration of that. This story has evolved from the very first.
Yeah.
No, I like it. Once upon a time, there was a tap. Carry on from here.
So, anyway, I mean, you disagree that that's the version of events. I say it is that version of events. But your point
what we agreeing is that the tap came on.
Right. So, but the point is, I was all over it at first, and because I'm a believer, I'm a big fan. I was like, this is amazing. But then it dawned on. I got a genuine sense of this isn't all right. I thought if there is something that's I got terrified, and I started to see. I'm not saying this is why you've done it, but I started to see why people would want there to be a rational explanation. Because I thought it's all very well and good, a tap just coming on, but that also means I'm sharing this flat with something that has the power to move things around without anything to do with what I say.
Water.
And you freaked yourself out.
Yeah.
Water. I used to have water problems.
Oh, really?
Not physically myself, just to make that plain. But things with water.
Yeah.
And that's still, to this day, there's a water things that,
That's
honestly,
interesting.
I suddenly started from never having it before to have problems where water was concerned in the homes, in my home. And you know that feeling of bringing something with you?
Do you feel like you've got rid of it now?
Not fully.
Really?
No.
Oh, really?
No. I mean, I think it's a sort of lesson, but there are moments when I would just say, "Oh, for goodness sakes!" It would be. It's not. It's diminished.
Yeah.
It's diminished. If that was the source of where it was, and it came whatever came, I did feel like I had an attachment to carry out on me.
Yeah. But that's a
not nice.
No, and there's I can't remember the name of it, but it's not very well known Western wise, that idea that you're carrying something from one place to another as an attachment. But in Japanese folklore, they've got a term for it which escapes me now, but there's loads of old drawings and carvings and stuff of a man or a woman walking around with like a skeletal figure on the back. And it's that idea that you've carried an attachment with you or something that's just took a fancy to you.
The incubus or something like that.
The incubus and succubus are the sexual
succubus there, that's it,
sort of nighttime-y demons.
Yeah.
Was it when you moved to the next place, was that okay? Was that nice and well, or was it sinister?
Yeah. No, the next place was where I'd actually stayed. You know, when I was where I'd moved out to, because they became friends. They were away most of the time I was there, and they were a family with 3 growing children and a dog, and I'd met them when I lived at Sefton Drive. You know, they were friends of the people who lived there.
Yeah.
So they were like, "Oh, come and stay with us." You know, when I was looking for somewhere to camp out to, and I was trying various places, I didn't want to go back to Adelphi.
Yeah.
And then they just said, you know, we kept in touch, and when they heard about things going wrong again, and they just went, "Look, the person who's living in our flat is moving out in autumn, you know, whenever. Why don't you move in?" And I actually moved in, because this was after it just got really, really, really bad, and I was just very, very unhappy living there, and work was great. You know, I had lots of work on.
So you're outside of that house,
and they just said, "Come and stay with us." So there I went back to this white, wonderful top floor space with children. I mean, it was noisy, but great noise.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't people like in Hope Street. Oh, yeah, they did. The 2 women on the top floor, absolute murder. The guy above me, I thought, I went to my window once and I opened my bedroom window. It was like early hours of the morning. I thought it must have been a festival on at the Pier Head, because music comes up. No, he just got one of those sense around things.
Oh, God.
And it was...
just inconsiderate, isn't it?
I know, but it was just then it began, you know, there's other things that you could put up with.
Yeah.
And you're trying to be a good neighbour, you know, dead nice guy other times, but, you know, you've got to be problematic. And then you're just thinking, why am I living here now?
Yeah.
I'm not welcome anymore. I wasn't welcome the first. I am not welcome, and I need to leave.
Did you...
I was sad. I walk past it now and it just makes me go, could I have done... No, walk on.
There's 2 things that I want to ask. So firstly, do you... the people who you talking about, like, you know, the conversation about moving in with them and stuff, did you tell them what was going on paranormal wise, and how did they react to it?
They were just like, you know, they were a couple with 3 growing children, and their attitude was just leave it all behind. Come here. They didn't laugh at me. It wasn't like, because they know I'm not that sort of person.
Well, yeah.
I get paid for drama.
Yeah.
I don't have to pretend it.
Yeah.
You know, that was the thing.
And again, if you're going to just make up a reason to not want to live in your flat...
Oh, I have plenty.
You know, you'd go with something other than...
Yes.
And there's a demonic presence.
Excuse me, I'm being haunted.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there any chance you could move me around the corner? But do you know what? It was funny because I did try to leave.
Yeah.
And I was shown a couple of flats in the area. I didn't particularly want to leave there, around there. And I'd made friends, you know, with people. And it was where I wanted to be. And
it just didn't
want
nothing.
You. No, I was not.
I wonder who's in there now. Like, I always think, you know, not that I'd ever have the bravado to do it, but I'd always love if you could just go up and knock and say, can I just ask?
How are you here?
Yeah.
I know there was a nurse who lived there before me, and she only stuck it for 3 months for whatever reason.
Well, that's telling, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, because you'll know this... Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, and I found out there was a much older guy who lived there for a while with his mum. And I was thinking, was it her?
Yeah.
This guy looked after it. Was it her? Was it the mum going, you know, you don't belong here, get out, I don't like you. Whoever it was did not like me.
Yeah.
And I felt it personally. Yeah. You know, you just get it from some people, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Some people can express it with a look or whatever. This is how it felt.
I wonder if you ever got a man living there on his own, if he was all right. You know, we were saying women that it didn't like women.
Yeah, I do think it'd be all right. And it was... It was very, very odd. And when I was asked to come and view the flat, they said, we're looking for the right person to move in. You know, just needs to be the right person.
Words,
yeah, well, that's what I thought afterwards. Because I was thinking, you know, quiet, partying days are sort of, you know, pretty much done. Sort of quiet, older woman in there, tolerant, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what they mean, yeah.
Tolerant of the noise and the chaos. And it just got to be, And it was, you know, it was going to be my lovely place and my garden outside. I was going to plant an Acer tree, and you know, that's what I mean. I had plans, and then not too long after I moved in, probably after the first month, things started to get stripped away from the lovely dream.
Isn't that interesting? I'd love to go there.
So how long were you for there in total? Did you do that?
Over 18 months. Over 18 months, and it was going to be forever.
Yeah, it was supposed to be.
Oh,
that
it
long
was.
term.
I just, yeah. Oh, that was the plan.
You'd expect that with a nurse as well, wouldn't you? A nurse would generally be looking for like a long term.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a job that you move around a lot with.
But it's interesting.
If she's
as
at the
well.
Royal. Happy days, I can walk to work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great for me because I used to rehearse the other side of TJ's. I used to walk, you know. My thing would be, I'd run up the steps of the Catholic Cathedral, you know, Rocky style, to make sure I could still breathe at the top. You know, I'm fit. This is great, fantastic. And then, so I'd take all that energy with me. I'd have a great day rehearsing with mates, you know, whatever. And in the evenings, I'd be on stage singing, dancing, yay! And then as I'd got to the flat, up the steps to go in, it'd be like, and then in through the flat door, and oh God, here we go, and turn the light on.
It's no way to live, is it?
No, it's no way to live. Yeah, I very often, quite recently, said that your house needs to be a place where you it's literally where you recharge and relax. It needs to be a sanctuary.
Well, where I live now is that
really?
you come back and you're like, oh, I live here. Isn't that great? Isn't it lovely when you walk into a flat and you go, I live here.
Yeah.
This is my home. I can't believe this.
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
this is mine. This is great. Whether it's rented or whatever. And I've always lived in old buildings. The building I live in now is it older than the one on Hope Street? Could be, you know, it's around the same period.
Yeah, it's all the mansions, isn't it? From way back when the money was in.
Yeah, ours definitely was.
So outside of the Hope Street apartment then, obviously you've done a lot of theatre work, but outside, just be it in theatre or be it in your personal life, anything else in the world of the paranormal that you've encountered?
I think I've always felt, and I've not been sort of taught it, but I always felt that sometimes there are things close to you, like you're saying about that feeling of this is a female and I don't like it and stuff like that. I remember once we were travelling in Scotland. We were, you know, really happy. We'd travelled from Skye across to Inverness, and we were travelling down, and we stopped at this really old building, had to go and have a little route round, and it was an old turreted tower, and you just walked. I mean, it was open to the public. I didn't just. I don't break into places, but it was open to, and we walked in. I can't remember where exactly it was, but we're travelling down Scotland and walked into it, and it was, even now, I cannot be here. I have to leave.
Really?
I cannot be here. I can't breathe properly, and turn around and walk back down. Well, what was that all about?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is obviously pre-Hope Street days. I cannot be in that. I couldn't be in that room. Walked upstairs. It was like, oh no, this is horrible. This is horrible. It felt
like
encroaching.
claustrophobic sort of thing.
Horrible and covered. And sometimes you just get. I think, get out.
Yeah.
Get out. You know.
Yeah.
So I had to leave straight away. Some of the things I felt that people would look at you and go, yeah, maybe not. Have been warm and positive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've had some very nice experiences that are not of, you know, not the ordinary.
Yeah.
So
you said about your mother earlier.
My mum, I just sort of feel quite close occasionally. And sometimes I'll get stop showing off Ethna.
Right. Okay.
Or no, it'll be Ethna. Even though when I say it, I can sort of feel it because that's how. You know, it's not even my name, mother. But it's just like Ethna. And then I'll just get that. Oh, all right, I'll sit down.
Yeah, you've got to tell off.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah. But the as I say, there's a closeness sometimes and a warmth that I quite like. That if there's something else about the veil being thin or whatever, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've not studied it.
Theatres and the likes. Have you ever been somewhere you've or have you ever heard a great story of somebody you've worked with in terms of the paranormal?
There's supposed to be a ghost at the Royal Court Theatre.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
There's been a guy upstairs, and I've never really been up there on my own.
Yeah.
It's never been within the remit for me to be there, so I don't know how that feels.
Yeah.
But the court, to me, in all its, because when I went there for the first time, I think about 2005, it was pre all its modern.
Yeah, it's been done
renovations,
quite a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah. So it was still pretty grubby in places, and you go downstairs, but I've always felt welcomed on that stage.
Yeah.
Felt welcomed on that stage, and most theatres, I have to say, that's what I've felt.
You've got.
Yeah, normally you're working with people that you really like, and you're doing something exciting, whether it's tragic or comic or musical or whatever. It's very rare. Sometimes you'll get smally, dark places.
Yeah.
But you just go that way.
Yeah. When you say you feel welcomed on the stage, is that like a neutral, as in, you know, you were happy to be there and it was kind of a neutral place, or was it like an actual a positive thing?
Sometimes you'll feel it. Sometimes you'll feel something.
Okay.
You know, really. I know it sounds like ridiculous, but sometimes you get that. I'm awfully glad you're here. And that's my way of expressing
feeling,
it.
yeah.
But then there's a warmth, and whether it's generated by the people around you or from you, just like, I'm awfully glad you're here. And there's a place where, because I was a silent child, I was really quiet and timid as a kid.
Yeah.
So to end up standing in front of however many people,
yeah,
it tends to be going, and now you're going to listen to me. Yeah. I don't know how I got from that to that, really.
No, I wouldn't have
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, you know, certain people pushing you going, yeah, you can do it. You can do it. But I've never, ever been anywhere since where I've experienced that feeling of cold, you know, get out.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I always say to you, don't I, that I want, if he had absolute no emotions, I'd love to go and just knock on and say, I wouldn't say, I believe that this is haunted. There's certain places though when I find out on the Liverpool that they're haunted, I want to slip a note through and just say, if you're experiencing anything weird, please give us a call.
Yeah, acts like it's a generic.
Acts like a generic and everyone's got one. I mean, to be fair, that's on Hope Street there and Gambier Terrace and all that area. They'd probably be all right with it because they'd be like, well, you know, it's opposite a massive graveyard, 50,000 people in it.
Yeah, because I did sleep in, long before I moved up there, I did sleep in another flat on Hope Street.
Oh yeah.
Right, sort of the other end, you know, by the college.
Yes.
By you know, when it was opposite there. And that was one where I just sat up. There was something in the room.
Really?
Yeah, I just sat up and thought, because it was a friend's house. Not a close friend, but, you know, we can stay at ours. You know, my mum won't mind, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I shouldn't really have been there. Because my parents thought it was somewhere else. But it was one of those, oh, great, okay, I can stay here. And, oh, my God, what a great place. You know, I really don't ever want to be in this room again.
Really?
That was another Hope Street. That was right the other end.
Because there's one of the Hope Street houses has got links to the body snatchers, hasn't it, I believe? In the basement they found pickled bodies that were going to be sent up to Birkenhead.
Yeah, they're quite a business out of it.
Yeah. And, you know,
it's an old street, isn't it? Let's be honest, it's one of the oldest in Liverpool. Because we've done on one of our Halloween specials, Blackburn House is on Hope Street for anyone who knows.
Oh, yes, it's the second,
Yeah, we've done our second Halloween special there, didn't we?
Why didn't I know of this? I'm supposed to be appearing in Blackburn House a week Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be doing a concert there.
Oh, wow.
With Blood Brothers friends, believe it or not.
Oh, really? It's all come full circle now, you see.
Mickey Stark, who did Brookside, Sinbad, and Davy Edge. The three of us, we did Blood Brothers together at the Leicester Haymarket.
Oh, really?
When the Mrs. Johnson was Leslie Nichol, who plays Mrs. Patmore, is it? In, what's the... Oh, hello.
No.
Yeah, it's from... oh, gosh, what's it called? Why does it do this? You know the one, the very posh house and everything. They're all upstairs, downstairs, try 70 things. Downton Abbey.
Downton Abbey.
Thank you so much for your help. So we're supposed to be playing at Blackburn House.
Oh,
It's a place that I am very happy in.
Yeah, it's...
We've done a lot in.
They
were brilliant with us, weren't they?
Really good.
Yeah, I know them
a full room.
And one of them did it with us. Max,
we've done a séance.
We did a tour.
Gorgeous girl.
Oh, do you know
Max,
that?
Yeah. She's so lovely.
Yeah, she helped publicise concerts I was doing there.
Oh,
yeah,
wow,
we met and it was like, oh, you're slightly different, Max, aren't you? Love it.
Yeah, she's
Come on to me.
She's
gorgeous.
She's really into it.
Gorgeous.
She done a séance with us.
Yeah, she gave us a tour.
Which you don't normally get from people who say, you know, when you say like, can we come and do something spooky in your house? They don't normally say, and I'll do it with you. Which was great.
Yeah, she gave us a full tour, which took us up to like this attic bit.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately at the time, we have one now, but we only had this set up for podcasting at the time. So we had to set up in a room, and we've got a portable recorder now, so we could have, if we had it then, went round the full site. But we had to keep coming back to the room and say, we didn't see it.
But we also didn't realise, so I think you took a pendulum as well, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is with podcasts, it's completely audio. So we just sat there in silence. I said, this is going to be awful. He's awful to listeners because we're just watching it. You haven't thought this through.
Yeah, we were there for like 3 hours, and it edited down to like 20 minutes because of like, is anyone there? 30 seconds of silence, you have to close up.
Yeah, you need audio activities, don't you? Not visual.
For people who are just listening to this, the pendulum is now moving from left to right in a very slow, circular move. Oh, it's going round. Oh, dear Lord, what's happening now? I'm off.
You can come to the next one. That was such a well-spoken English accent. The Americans will be loving that.
Yeah. Well, do you know I'm the voice on the Mersey Ferry?
Oh, you really?
Stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah. That's my ferry voice.
Really? Guys, this is the ferry cross the Mersey.
The ferry crossed the Mersey.
Yeah.
I just sometimes feel I should go down and apologise to the poor lads who actually work on it, you know.
I heard you all the time.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are leaving us here at Birkenhead, please make sure you've taken all your belongings with you.
We've heard that voice so many times.
You know what you really should do? You should wait till those guys get off the ship and start walking home and just like out of bushes. I'm still here. I'm never going to
But
leave.
it's so funny, it's always got to be done into a glass so you get that echoey sound. It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
sound the same. Ladies and gentlemen, if you...
No, I'm going to take a glass of beer and go, and I'll go, guess who this is? No one will guess.
So you see, from somebody who's like me, who's used to be... Yeah, I agree. Who is like very positive, all of those things, to have spent 18 months from start to finish and end up where you're just like, I can't live here
because
anymore.
it was obvious from when we first met you in the Blackburn Arms, was it?
Yeah,
Was it the Blackburn Arms? In the pub there, that you're obviously, you wasn't drinking, and normally if someone's jolly and they're drunk, you think, well, that's because they're drunk. But you wasn't drinking, you're jolly, enthusiastic, upbeat sort of person.
I don't drink.
It's quite obvious. I mean, I don't now.
Yeah.
Well,
And also, I wasn't drinking at the time.
Yeah,
It's
exactly,
like a very long time since. But so, just to head back to that, because I'm trying to think now. I'm remembering other things that that happened that were sort of very, very odd, and things like the doorbell would go, and I went to answer it, and I broke my toe on the way there, and opened it. There's nobody there. And
really? That's.
The doorbell went, and I jumped. I was in the bedroom, and I jumped to go and answer the door. Ow, ooh, ow! And by the time I got back, I'd broken my toe.
Wow.
There was physical marks on my body from where I've been. There,
See,
Seriously?
that's different, isn't it? It's not just like
I'm not that careless a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, all respect it, you're not usually like a clumsy person, or...
I've never broken my toe before in my life.
Right, okay.
And I've never gone into a fallen mirror or...
Yeah, what happened with the mirror again? Because that's jarring.
There was one, if I just described to you, if the back room, say if you walk in and there's a massive big window in front of you, which looks onto the back garden yardy place, on the right-hand side of the wall, it's a very big, spacious room, very tall. There's a massive fireplace, and then there's an arch where at one point you would have walked from the front room through into the second room. It could be, these were your reception rooms.
Yeah, when it was all one house.
When it was all one house. These were your reception rooms. At the back of the hallway were the stairs upstairs, and also then downstairs to the basement. And so this big arch, I had a table there at one point. I moved furniture around, fitting everything in. This arch, that door, the entrance to that room was where the cold, horrible feeling was.
So it literally hit you like a wall.
You had to pass through it. And I would catch myself looking over there.
Right.
And once, I'd forgotten about this, I'm so glad you reminded me. Once, Sunday afternoon, I'm lying on the couch in this room, happily chatting away to a very good friend. Music's on, flowers, blah, 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 all of this business. It's a nice Sunday afternoon. And the next moment, oh, I went, what's the matter? And a black wisp of fog, smoke, cloud just went from one wall through to the other. Really? I'm awfully sorry, Beck. Wow. But no, that's what I saw. I've never seen it before. I said, you're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this. Electrically as well, things wouldn't work properly. There was all sorts of, oh, for God's sake,
It just sounds like such a dark place. I mean, you've described it wonderfully.
Just that room.
It does make me think, is there any have you ever seen any history on the building or anything like that?
No.
It sounds like it's a good job they did brick it up, because at least you had the bedroom as
the bedroom. Thank you. Yeah, the bedroom absolutely was a sanctuary, and it was only when after I'd been living there for quite a while, I was sort of thinking, I'm living in this bedroom.
Yeah.
I was only in the back room if I had guests. If there were guests there, the atmosphere lightened. People bring energies in with them, don't they? And so if it was there, but I wouldn't spend a lot of time in that room on my own. My son was fine. He'd stay over.
Again, though, if that ties into the mail.
Yeah.
Thing. So where was that? So when you said it was an outrigger, so it would go Bedroom, if you're looking at it like as a bird's eye view, it'd go bedroom, the dark room, kitchen, bathroom. Was it?
Yeah. Kitchen, long corridor, bathroom.
Right.
So there was a space, there's that space there, but lots of problem with water. Yeah.
And electrics as well.
Electrics. Yeah.
So because they say that, obviously, don't they? They say electrics is one of the you'll often see. Yeah, I watch a lot of these like Most Haunteds and where ghost hunting shows, and you'll often see if they're in an area where something's allegedly meant to be taking place, batteries will drain and lights will go out, and all sorts of, as you say, electrical interference stuff takes place.
Yeah, but I don't really watch those shows.
Yeah.
So
you wouldn't know that.
This is first-hand experience, I wouldn't know what to look for.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's the key thing.
I wouldn't know what to look for, and I've never experienced anything like that before. But as you can see, it's left its mark on me.
Yeah,
it really did.
And it's interesting that you say you still don't feel like you've completely got rid of it.
No.
Well, we're going to talk to Ethna some more on the Patreon episode.
Yeah, you're going to stay with us for a little bit longer, aren't
you? Happy days.
And we'll drill into that feeling that you've not quite got rid of it yet. So, if you'd like to hear that, then you need to go to patreon.com/we need to talk about ghosts. In the meantime,
ladies and gentlemen, could you now go to patreon.com/we need to talk about ghosts for more with Eithne Brown. Thank you.
Can't sign off an episode any better than that. Well, on behalf of me and Becca, thank you very much.
Yes, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Brilliant.
There's nothing in this flat.
Really?
And thank you.
You're not coming back anymore.
Yeah, bothered.
Thanks, Ethna.